Welcome to the Aquarius podcast. We're having a full blood moon in the sign of Virgo. This is happening on March 13th, 11:15 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. This is also going to be happening during a total lunar eclipse. So what can you expect? Drama, chaos. Total lunar eclipse generally mean a time of spiritual development. And that spiritual development comes with karmic endings, with plot twists, with unexpected surprises, arguments, fights, chaos, destruction for the sake of evolution. This is what all of us are going to be experiencing under this full moon in the sign of Virgo. A full moon in astrology within the context of manifestation is a time to take stock, to reflect, to ponder, to analyze, to review, to be more conscious and to be more aware of the energetic vibration that we are bringing to ourselves and to each other. So when a full moon comes, it comes to expose who we really are, to kind of align who we think we are with who we really are. And it can be painful because for many of us, stepping into the light is challenging. We don't like seeing ourselves fully. We're more comfortable seeing, the imaginary versions of ourselves because that version doesn't require any work. We can all just sit around and pretend to be, someone that we're not, and to be kinder than we are, and to be more thoughtful than we are, and to be more loving than we are. And then there are other actions that we have that don't necessarily fit that narrative. So a full moon really invites in this moment of recognition, and it's not for the sake of making you feel despondent or broken. It's really to give you an opportunity to evolve. Now that you're more aware of your shadows, what can you do with that information, and how can you utilize that and to bring some light to that so that you're living more into your authentic light energy? You see, the universe is a very dark place. If you were to just take a look at it, outside of the light that we've created here on Earth, it's pretty dark. There's a lot of dark matter in the universe, and we were chosen to be agents of light here on Earth. That's why we came. That was the message. That was the agreement. So there is an obligation upon us to actually do our job of being agents of light. Now, life is hard, and it's not always easy to stay in the light. So a full moon is an opportunity to investigate how are we spreading darkness on Earth, and what can we do about it so that we can rebalance our energies. So on the day of the full moon in Virgo, again, which is happening on the 13th. Oh my God, I just realized that number. The 13th is usually a number that makes a lot of people nervous, especially when it falls on the Friday. It's because the 13th really goes back to our home. It goes back to our mothers. It goes back to our emotions. And those of us that are uncomfortable with our relationships with our mother, with our mommy issues, with our childhood trauma, it's going to be jarring because Cancer energy is the great equalizer. A lot of who we are is because of our moms. It's because of how our moms raised us, good or bad. Some of it wasn't good. It's our responsibility to heal that. And if some of it was good, it's our responsibility to, celebrate that and spread that on Earth. So on that day, we're going to be having the sun in Pisces, obviously the moon in Virgo. The interesting thing about the degree of that moon, which is a 23rd degree, is that it's a degree associated with Zodiac sign Aquarius. So what that means is that this full moon is mainly going to be impacting our relationships, specifically our friendship, whether they're online friendships, which Aquarius rules social media, or real friendships. I don't mean like social media friendships aren't real. I mean like real, tangible people that you see every day, that you go out for coffee with, people you hang out with all the time, people you have in your home, that sort of thing. So what is a community and what makes a community? What is a friend and what makes a friend? We're going to be seeing our fake friends. We're going to be seeing them very clearly. The people that are only there for, the energy we bring, the people that are only there because we make them look good, the people that are only there to pretend to like us, but it was never really about us. It was about studying us so that they can steal from us. The people that are only there because they want to be us or they want our lives. The people that are only there because they want to use us for their own emotional labor. So whatever, all the deceptive ways that people do relationships, all of us are, we're adults. We've all been through it. So if you're still struggling with understanding what a friend is and who's a friend and who's not a friend, this full moon in Virgo is going to expose the people in your life that thought were your friends, but that are actually not friends. Okay, this can be one of the most painful experiences you can ever go through, is to realize that somebody that you thought was a friend the whole time was actually not caring for you at all in the way that you were caring for them. And while it's painful, no doubt about it, what the message is is that friendships have to evolve with you. And some friends cannot go from this stage to that stage with you. And it's your responsibility to figure that out about them and to release them from their duties, as opposed to carrying around dead weight or people. You know, a lot of you, especially Libra, that struggle with this. Libra likes to be surrounded by a lot of people because Libra, especially when they haven't learned to love themselves, Libra thinks their sense of self-worth comes from their connection. Even though Libra's here to build connections, they put too much juju on it. And they're thinking that if they don't have connections, they're not somebody. But a healthy Libra understands that their connection and their networking is specifically for that purpose of building their lives. It's for work. It's not really for personal. In their personal lives, a healed Libra has very few connections, and those are deep and intimate connections. So I bring that up to say it's not about the quantity of the people that you're attached to or that you're connected with. It's about the healing they bring to you. It's about the value they bring to your life. It's about the love they bring. It's about the caretaking and the nurturing that they bring. If you're surrounded by people who do not nurture you, don't bring you healing energy, who are not interested in your well-being, don't really care to know what's going on, your inner workings, if they're not interested in your pain and how you're overcoming it, and if it's not like a leechy thing, which, you know, by the way, some zodiac signs really struggle with that, like Leo in particular, tend to attract people when they're in pain because people love to see them suffering. I don't mean in that kind of way where it's like people want a front row seat to your suffering so they could be like, see, she's not so big and bad, I'm so much better than her. Or so they could, like, you know, go to their group text and talk about all the terrible ways that you're suffering and how much glee brings them. I don't mean in that manner. I mean friends that can sit with you in your humanity in all its format. You know, sometimes life is great and we're all laughing, and sometimes it's sad and depressing and we're crying. What we want, all of us are seeking, are friends that can sit through all the ups and downs of life, and they can be present without judgment and without ulterior motives. And many people want that, but many people aren't that. So this is an opportunity for us to reflect on how are we as a friend, and how do we show friendship to others, and what's involved. What does it mean to be a good friend? That's the conversation that all of us are going to be having. Mercury is going to be in Aries, Venus in Aries, Mars in Cancer, Jupiter in Gemini, Saturn in Pisces, Uranus is still in Taurus, Neptune in Pisces, and Pluto obviously still in Aquarius, or collective North Node is in Pisces, or Lilith still in Libra, or Chiron is in Aries, or Fortune is in Taurus, and Vertex is in Cancer. It's interesting that Vertex is in Cancer while this is happening on the 13th, okay? Now, let's transition from here to talk about some of the aspects that are coming along with this full moon, okay? First, I want to talk about the aspects that are going to be challenging, since I've already told you that generally a full moon is a challenging time. The good news is there isn't a whole lot of them, so if you can basically get in front of it and master it, you'll be just fine. There's actually a lot more positivity happening under this full moon. Do you see how generous Virgo is? So even when Virgo is burning you, she's giving you so much more good for you to cleanse and heal yourself, because Virgo energy at its core is service oriented. So even when they're giving you something negative, pay attention and don't get in your feelings about the negativity. You can walk away with gold, okay? So let's start with the things that are going to be challenging. We have the sun in opposition to the moon. Whenever the sun is in opposite position of the moon, what we get is an internal battle around our ego, which is our sense of self, and our pride. A lot of people are very proudful because they have a huge ego. Our sense of agency in the world. And there's nothing wrong with having a big ego. It's a matter of mitigating that ego with everybody else's ego. It's an understanding that there are 8 billion ego on this earth, and our ego is not the biggest and the baddest. And oftentimes when we get so proudful that we start thinking that we're the biggest and the baddest, that's when karma comes and humbles us. And I hate to see it, but sometimes it's kind of like the only way for us to like remember that we're here with others, and we're here to be in community with others in whatever fashion that is. So sun opposite moon is internal battle with the ego and our emotions. Sometimes when we're doing things out of ego, our conscious talks to us about what we're doing, whether good and bad. Oftentimes when it's bad, our conscious will try to get us to course correct by making us feel like guilty, or making us feel ashamed, or making us feel embarrassed. That is your conscious talking to you about why that behavior was not appropriate. Those of us that are in tune, when we get that message, we adjust our behavior so that we don't have that emotional discomfort. But some people, they don't live that way, and they don't want to self-correct correct. They only respond to corrections from the universe. So unfortunately, for some people, the only correction they're going to have is when something happens outside of them that lets them know that they've gone too far. Okay. So usually when the sun is opposite the moon, there's a lot of conflict. And since I've already told you the theme is friendships, relationships, community, expect conflict within your community, in your intimate relationships. Usually this comes with issues between parent and children, or men and women, because the sun is masculine, the moon is feminine. So usually there's a gender-based aspect to this conflict. So just keep that in mind as well. Moving on to the second placement that's making this difficult is the moon being in opposition to Saturn. Okay. Moon in opposition to Saturn brings issues with expressing feelings in a way that is being received. A lot of people who grew up with Saturn at their moon placement, I have a Capricorn moon. So those of you that have Capricorn moon, Aquarius moons, I'm speaking to you directly. Those of you who grew up with Saturn at their moon grew up in home environments where your emotions had to be suppressed in order for you to perform the task of being a family member, because you didn't have families. You were part of an organization. You're part of a cult. You were part of a dark organization that really functioned around fakery, fake energy, fake love, fake performance. Family was like something you performed. It wasn't something that you existed in. It wasn't a safe, supportive environment. Everything was about obligations and responsibility. If you grew up with a lot of Aquarius and Capricorn energy, that's kind of the theme of your life. A lot of your drive and ambitious nature and hard work, you've learned that from home because you never really had a childhood. So for a lot of those people who have moon in opposition to Saturn, they're used to this emotional suppression for the sake of having community. What I'm here to share with you is that this full moon in Virgo has come to challenge that, because you shouldn't have to be anything other than who you are to be worthy of love and worthy of belonging. In fact, all of us belong. All of us deserve to be here because the Creator decided that everybody deserved to exist and to have life. So everybody was given life. And when the Creator decides that it's time for that person to no longer have life and to transition to the other realm, they go. No questions asked. There's no red tape. The decision is made and they leave. So this idea that you have to perform or you have to work in order to have access to friendship, to have access to community is a lie. It's a lie that has been specifically sold to Capricorn and Aquarius children, specifically Sun, Moon, and Rising, or stellium, or at the moon. So this full moon in Virgo has come to free you guys from this trap of thinking that you have to be of service or more of service to others than they are of service to you. That you basically have to slave away, at the feet of others in order for you to have a sense of community, a sense of belonging, a sense of humanity. For many of us, we weren't allowed to be human, to have human feelings, human thoughts, and to have human experiences. We were expected to behave a certain way so we could belong, and we weren't given choices. This is why oftentimes Aquarius moon children, as soon as those kids turn of age where they can provide for themselves, here in the US it's about 18, they leave and they never come back. It's really rare that Aquarius moon children do not leave their hometown as soon as they can leave, and they never return, because the abuse that they've suffered in their home, however microaggressive it was, leaves a deep imprint on them that makes them feel unlovable, and then they spend the rest of their lives trying to heal that. So you no longer have to run away from this battle. It's time to confront these messages and really step into the truth of who you are. And who you are is someone who's worthy of love, and who's worthy of belonging. And yes, your home may not have been where you felt the most loved and the most accepted, but I want you to keep in mind that there's a whole world out here that is huge and massive and that loves you, and there are people just like you who've survived situations that you've survived who want to be in community with you. So it's a matter of you opening up your mind to the possibility of being loved simply because you are, because once you start vibrating at that frequency, you will attract more people who vibrate at that frequency. Now let's go on to the last thing that's happening that's making this transit difficult, is the moon being in opposition to Neptune. When the moon is in opposition to Neptune, we're being called back to our faith, our spirituality, our relationship with the unknown, with spirits, with things and entities that we cannot see. Believe it or not, all of us are surrounded by angels and demons all the time. None of us are here by ourselves. All of us are surrounded by our ancestors. There are many, many spirits that are with us at all all times. We're never truly alone. This is why people that are connected spiritually like to spend a lot of time alone, is because they understand they're not alone. They're in good company. Moon being in opposition to Neptune brings up issues around our dreams, dreams that we have for our lives. How are we in harmony with them? How are we fulfilling them or not? It brings in question our relationship with faith, with spirituality, with what cannot be quantified. How are we managing our relationship with the afterlife? Because eventually we all die, right? And then the new phase of our life is happening. How do we feel about that phase? How comfortable do we feel going into that journey? It's going to bring up, unrealistic standards that we've had about life. For some of us, we can be very idealistic with life, like, oh, whatever, it doesn't matter. But there are going to be some things that happen under this full moon that will make us all recognize that spirit is just as important as what's tangible. And the goal is to bring our need for physical connection in harmony with our need for spiritual connection, because we're not just flesh and bone. We are spirit beings that are having a human experience. And that human experience is limited to our time of death, but it doesn't end there, As someone who grew up in a very Christian, super religious home, one of the things that never left me, even though I left my parents' church, was this idea of coming back to life. My parents taught me that when we die, we all get resurrected. And for me, that concept of life makes sense, whether you believe that it's you in the same flesh that comes back, or it's you in another form that comes back. This concept of the continuity of life and life being eternal and energy never dying, I really believe in it, because when you uproot a tree, something else grows in that spot. It may not grow today, it may not grow tomorrow, but within a month, there may be some weeds there. There may be some other plants there. There may be other worms there. There may be an ant colony there. There will be another form of life that takes that spot, is what I'm trying to say. So our lives don't end here. They never end, in fact. And we're constantly breaking ourselves down, rebuilding ourselves for the sake of evolution. Because in fact, we're here to be the very brightest light. And that comes with us being just as interested in our spirituality, in the non-tangible aspects of who we are, our emotional world, our sensitivity. All of that is a part of our spirituality. We need to develop a curiosity about our emotional well-being, just as much as we're curious about how we pay our bills. Virgo is a sister sign of Pisces. Pisces is all about the feelings, and Virgo is all about the tangible. Pisces is all about spirituality, and Virgo is all about science, data. Opposite sisters, but they work together. Science is merely here to confirm what spirituality already knows. Pisces doesn't have the data, and Virgo is working to get the data. Do you see how they go together in harmony? Because that is, in fact, the point of life, balance. Now, on to the other placements that are happening that are actually extremely positive. There's so many of them. We have the Sun trine Mars. So that means that we're going to be interested in setting objective goals for our future. So the fights and the arguments and the disagreements and the line in the sand that we need to draw in order for our ego to be preserved, we're going to be willing to do it. So do it. Do not bite your tongue. Obviously, don't say things to just be ugly and awful and cruel, but do not bite your tongue when it comes to speaking your truth. And for many of you, this is happening because you've been biting your tongue for way too long, okay? Moving on to Sun conjunct Saturn. This aspect is giving us the discipline to really clarify what it is that we want out of life. It's really about facing the reality that life has changed. And if we want to grow and evolve, we have to be willing to let go of what no longer serves us, which is a huge theme of the full moon in general. So this experience that we're having is going to bring to light difficulties that we've created ourselves because of our reluctance to change. If you're ruled by Saturn in any ways, Aquarius and Capricorn again, these guys don't like change. They're very risk averse in general. That's just how they are. And I think a lot of it comes really from the trauma of not being able to be themselves and explore life as children, and not being able to feel free as children. So for many of them, what ends up happening is that they get into a groove that finally feels safe, and they just want to stay there. They don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to change things. They're very, very risk averse. So a lot of times when things are not working, the universe is telling them, hey, it's not working, it's not working, it's not working, it's not working. But because to them, this idea of holding on and being loyal is so deeply ingrained because of the role they played in childhood, they struggle with understanding that sometimes letting go is the bravest thing you can do. Sometimes just cutting it off. Just cut it off. Let it go. It's not working. If it's not working, what are you holding on to it for, except for the fact that it's a security blanket at this point? It's no longer something that's helping you be great, helping you succeed, helping you step into your power. It's something that you're now doing out of fear. And if there's one thing Capricorn and Saturn and Aquarius aren't ever, is fearful. So it might be time to step into this energy of knowing that if you have to destroy something, you can get it back. Another aspect is Sun conjunct Neptune. So our dreams, our fantasies, our intuitions are going to be really rooted in this need to be practical. Sometimes our ego can get so large that we believe we deserve, which inherently all of us are worthy and deserving of good things. But oftentimes that belief can be so big that we're not willing to analyze the ways in which we're actually not working for our dreams. Our dreams require us to put in effort, to take action. So we have to give our dreams some kind of structure for them to manifest. That expression, luck is just preparation meeting opportunity. So there is this need here to kind of get back to the preparation part of the opportunity. We have to be willing to be hard on ourselves. This transit is inviting creative energy that will actually help us make the world a better place. So don't be afraid of it. Yes, it's going to take a little bit of work, but the reward for that investment is going to be much more than you ever imagined. We also have Moon trine Pluto. So our emotional world is forcing us to grow, to develop, to let go, to release, to evolve. In addition, Mercury conjunct Venus is encouraging us to really talk about the things that we need and we want in order to feel safe and loved in this world. The world is full of love and full of abundance. And I know, for many of us, it's hard to tap into that frequency because we feel overwhelmed with the things that are happening currently in our lives. But I need you to know that no matter what's going on, love is never not in the building. Love is always there because you are love. So when you're in a dark room, you can always shine your light to make it more lit. You can always be the love that others need. If you are not experiencing love right now, there's nothing preventing you from giving yourself that love and from sharing it with other people. You are love. You can create a love revolution all by yourself. You don't need anyone to give you love for you to feel love. You simply have to choose that you're worthy of love and then start practicing being loving towards yourself. It's only from that place that we can learn to be loving towards others. Moving on to the next placement, Mercury conjunct Venus. Mercury conjunct Venus is calling us to get back to having good manners, to being good neighbors, to being kind and loving people, to being people that use our tongue to make others feel good and to make ourselves feel good. It's about expressing ourselves in a way that is balanced, that is rational, that is curious about the emotional reaction people are having to our words. Sensitive people aren't weak people. They're people who are aware that there are 8 billion people in this world and their reality is not the only reality. So they they speak and do things in ways that help anticipate how other people might react to it. These are the real spiritual warriors of this world, the people who care about other people and who care about how other people feel. Yes, it's easy to use our mouth to tear other people down, but ultimately those same words come back to us. And we're only doing that because we don't love ourselves. Because if we know that those words are coming back to us, why would we speak that way about ourselves? It makes you wonder. And if we don't love ourselves, in the same way we're using our words to hurt ourselves and we think we're hurting others, but we're really hurting ourselves, why can't we use our words to heal ourselves, to uplift ourselves, to encourage ourselves? These are choices. Virgo is all about personal responsibility, and that's what I love about Virgos. They're not about passing the buck. They're not about pretending to not know when they've done something wrong. In fact, Virgo is so invested in figuring out what they're doing wrong at all times, that is when they're healthy, that they're constantly working on themselves to become better people. This is why Virgo has the very best manners out of all of astrology. It's not because Virgo can't be crude or mean. In fact, when a Virgo is being mean, they do it with less words. They're very good at it. If you want like a very short sentence that can obliterate like someone's self-esteem, pick a Virgo. They know how to craft words together in such a magical way that can like deflate your ego so fast. And that's what I love about them, because everything is about balance. So in the same way that one can use their engine, which is your human body, to put that energy out there in the world, we can also use it to heal the world, because we are the world. And every time we heal ourselves, we heal the world. Next placement is Mars trine Saturn. Because Saturn is generally all about the method and is very slow and steady with how they do things, whenever Mars is trine Saturn, there's going to be this push to actually do things faster and do things intentionally. So this is a great time to take risk, to break out of old karmic patterns, to actually embrace something new, to try new things, to be bold, to be brave, because Mars is undefeated. Mars is Aries energy, and Aries energy is all about cutting through the bull and getting to the core of the issue. This is why Scorpio is so potent, is because they have Mars energy in addition to Pluto. So when we're talking about best placement for Mars, Aries always tops the list, because Aries is the warrior of the zodiac. What this placement is really asking you to do is to fight, and don't give up the fight, and don't relent, because you have all of the spiritual powers behind you to have the fight and to make situations better. It's really about you trusting yourself, which is where Aries thrives. Aries has some of the best instincts out of all the zodiac signs, because they're a warrior. They know when to duck. So it's really about trusting yourself, trusting your own strength, trusting your own power to keep pushing forward and driving your dreams forward, okay? This is all happening on their Pisces sun. So our dreams are very important here. You know, it's about spiritual warfare. You know, you've been surrounded by people who've been trying to dim your light, who've been trying to steal your energy, who've been trying to siphon your energy. It's time for you to fight back. And the only way to fight back is by being your authentic self, by doubling down on who you really are, because they can't take you away from you. You know, you were made to be uniquely you. They can copy, but they can never be you. So you're being called to be more of who you are. And whoever is coming into your life for nefarious reasons, they're going to be exposed. But more importantly, you have to stand up for yourself. And this is what Aries is really good at. Aquarius is really good at this as well. Virgo and Pisces struggle with that because they're a little bit more passive, okay? So be aggressive in fighting for your right to be who you are unapologetically, okay? Next transit, Saturn sextile Uranus. This is a very good energy for being original, being yourself, being creative, thinking out of the box, being weird. You know, all of us are weird. I know some people like to think only other people are weird because other people are different from them. But I just need you to understand that to 8 billion people on the planet, you're weird. Because there's nobody else who does everything exactly the way you do it. We're all here to appreciate our uniqueness because that's what makes life beautiful. You might think that the way that you think, the way that you do things is normal. Like as an example, I mentioned to you guys, I grew up in a very religious Christian home, right? That ran kind of like a cult. And one of the messages that I was taught as a child is that we were the special ones because the way we believed made us special. We were the only ones that had the truth of life, and everybody else was lost, and everybody else was not worthy, and everybody else was going to be punished by God because of what they believed. That kind of mindset created this kind of idea that somehow I was special
And me and the people that thought like me were special, and everybody else was not. And it's not until I grew up and left that church and stepped more into my authentic self and studied world religions that I understood that religions are more or less very similar. The only things that set them apart are people's traditions that they've attached to them. And to every religious person, especially those that are more extremist, everybody else is wrong and they're the only ones that are right. And they fail to realize that the same position that they have about their religion, other people have that too. Other people have that too. Because everybody believes that their religion is the right religion. That's why they believe in it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Where we go wrong as a human race is when we start believing that everybody else is wrong and we're the only ones that are right. What if everybody was right? What if the purpose of religion was really to bring people together and worship? And what if all of us allowed religion, whatever faith we believe in, to actually make us better humans? What if we could actually create love and peace on earth? But the thing is, for many people, sometimes these tools are not really about developing their character, working on themselves and becoming more humble, more graceful, more forgiving, more loving, more kind people. It becomes like this weapon of dominating others, of controlling others, of making others feel bad. And the message that was originally sent, it gets lost in the process. So I share my experience to let you know that I have been on the other side of thinking I was right and everybody was wrong. And I was normal and everybody was insane. And now I see the errors of my ways and I have made that change. So it's time for the world to really wake up to the reality that we're not all that different from each other as a human race. And it's really a matter of us finding community. Our community, the people that affirm us, the people that make us feel seen. And in order to have that, we don't need to put other people down. We can just enjoy what we have within our community and respect everybody else's right to have their community, because that's really what life is about. We all are here to learn how to be friends with each other. The last transit that's happening is Neptune sextile Pluto, which is really speaking to our dreams coming true when we embrace the destruction that's needed to bring us together. You see, back to the example that I gave, when we live with this mindset that because we believe a certain way, everybody else is wrong and that means we're better than them, it separates us. But the dreams for Earth are truly one dream, which is one love. We're all here to spread love and to be love and to embody love. And this is why the more we love ourselves, it's easier for us to love the world. Narcissistic people believe that only people who are like them are worthy of love and are worthy of humanity. That's fundamentally what narcissism is about. It's about believing that you're superior in some way and everybody else who's not like you is inferior. People who don't struggle with narcissism understand that everybody's worthy and everybody's unique, and they love uniqueness because it makes their lives more interesting. It's time for us to embrace peace as a human race. It's time for us to embrace togetherness as a human race, to see one another as equal, and to break down those walls that we've created, these false narratives around superiority that we've created that separate us from each other. And fundamentally, that make us deeply miserable. Narcissists are never happy people. They put on the facade, because they want the power. That's really the only thing that gets them excited. But at their core, they're miserable because love is the only thing that makes one happy. Love. Because love can never be taken away from you, no matter what. Because if you love yourself, you have it all. But narcissists don't love themselves. This is why they need others to love them. This is why they have flying monkeys that they can, manipulate to do their bidding for them, because they don't feel worthy when they're alone. The spiritual warfare that's going on right now on Earth is the battle between the lovers and the narcissist. It's much deeper than all of these simple, superficial categories that we give to life. It's really about the love of God, which is rooted in the love of self. Because when you love yourself, you love the world, because God made the world. And when you love yourself and you love the world, then you love each other. You see that? But when you don't love yourself because you think you're superior, you separate yourself from your brothers and your sisters, and then in turn, there's no love coming back to you because nobody loves you back because you don't love anyone. So we can get to a new world, a world that is more peaceful, more loving, and more generous if we're willing to do the work of embracing our authentic selves and creating community around our authenticity, because that is the only kind of love that lasts. It's a love that is focused on healing ourselves, embracing ourselves by celebrating ourselves, and that means deeply loving and knowing our imperfections and constantly working to evolve while not kicking ourselves down. And this is something Virgo struggles with, is Virgo has the idea of where they want to be, who they want to be, and when they're not there today, they're so harsh with themselves about that, when they could simply give themselves time to work their way to that next reality. So it's time to stop being cruel with ourselves and with others. It's time to really take ownership of our ability to heal ourselves and transform our world. And in doing so, we actually transform the world. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you being here. Be on the lookout for my next video on the horoscope for all 12 zodiac signs. I'm going to be sharing tips with you on how to manifest with this Virgo full moon and total eclipse. I want you to know what to expect in terms of what areas of your life will be the most impacted by this Virgo full moon, which is also happening under this total eclipse. The eclipse season in astrology is a time of confrontation. It's spiritual confrontation, energetic confrontation. We're being called to confront unhealthy aspects of our personality and how that plays into our ability to connect with others or inability to build a relationship with others. This full moon transit is happening under the Aquarian degree, so there are lots of themes around community. What does it mean to be a community member? What does it mean to be a friend? What does it mean to be a good friend? What kind of friend do we want to have? What kind of friend do we need to be based on the kind of friend that we want to have? It's really about how do we build community on Earth, and it starts with building community within ourselves, being our own best friend, because it's only from that place that we know how to be a good friend to others. I've said it before and I'll say it again. People who do not love themselves do not make good friends. People who have low self-esteem do not make good friends, because they see other people as superior and they put other people on a pedestal. So then when you put another person on the pedestal, you rob them of the opportunity to be imperfect. They never said they were a perfect person. You decided that they were worthy of having that title. And unfortunately for you, because they're human just like you, whenever they fall short of this pedestal that you've put them on, it becomes then extremely hard for you to continue loving them. But if you'd enter the friendship with humility, with an understanding that this is a human being who's just as broken as you and who's working through life to make the best of it, you would have never put him on that pedestal, because you would already be feeling good about yourself. And you know that because you love yourself, you know you're full of wonderful things and not so wonderful things. So why would you rob your brother or your sister of the opportunity to be imperfect when you yourself do horrible things just like them? It makes no sense. The only way you would do that is if you are someone who truly does not love themselves. And people who don't love themselves, all they do is run away from themselves while they're projecting everything onto others, with very little curiosity going on in here about, why do I do that? Why do I think like that? Why did I expect that from this person? There's very little of that kind of self-analysis. What Virgo's calling you back to is being your own therapist, being your own psychologist, by asking yourself the tough questions about your character, your behavior, and your habits. Because character and habits are karmic in astrology. We say character is karma because what you repeatedly do is who you are. Okay? So what's being illuminated is our pattern with how we do community, how we do friendship, how we do relationships, and what we're being gifted is the opportunity to fight for the relationships that actually help us develop and heal and evolve, and the opportunity to release, kind of like a period, the relationships that are no longer serving us. Okay?
For more astrology content, you may follow all of our YouTube astrology channels. The first one being at Intuitive Healing for Astrology 101, at Styled Under Libra for Love, at Astrology Weekly for Horoscopes and Manifestation, and lastly at Styled Under Virgo for Medical Astrology. You may check out intuitivehealing.com for astrology readings as well as healing crystals, and make sure to check out our manifestation group on Patreon at patreon.com/intuitivehealing. catch you soon on the next video.